Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the US for today's video. So we're doing our weekly United States update. Absolutely frozen in America over the past few days. Freezing cold, historic cold, and heavy snow and blizzards in many areas as well. Brought tremendous amounts of disruption. Things will be improving in the US over the coming days. We're going to see this cold spell relenting. The cold air will push back up into Canada and in most southern states where it has been so extraordinarily cold. I'll show you the minimums that we had there yesterday in a moment. But in most southern states, it will start to get milder from pretty much now onwards. And even in the northern states, by the time we get through to the weekend and early next week, we should see a reprieve on this cold weather. But it certainly has been an extraordinarily cold spell in the US over the past few days. And we predicted it last Wednesday. Of course, we did Wednesday's USA forecast. I'm quite pleased about how that came out. And anyway, I should get on with this week's USA forecast for you in a moment. Have a look at the data for the next 10 to 14 days, and then have a look at the set best V2 for the next 4 weeks. And I say I will get on that for you very shortly. Just to say that for UK and European viewers, don't worry, we'll have your 6 o'clock live stream coming up this evening. We'll be live streaming our 10 to 14 day. We'll have all of regular features, and as I say, that will be coming up for you from 6 o'clock this evening, so I shall see you live there. Right, so this was the tweet that BBC Weather put out yesterday. Dallas, Texas has recorded its joint lowest temperature on record. Records going back to 1898. Here are how some of the other extreme lows register in the southern US this morning. Remember, this was yesterday morning. So here they are then. We have Oklahoma with a minimum of minus 24. The average, whoops, let's pause that. The average should be minus 1. I think these will be in centigrade rather than Fahrenheit, by the way, as is BBC. Kansas, minus 22. The average would be minus 4. Dallas had a minimum temperature of minus 19. The average should be plus 5. Little Rock, Arkansas had a minimum of minus 15. The average should be plus 2. Austin, Texas had a minimum of minus 13. The average should be plus 7. Houston, Texas, going down towards the Gulf Coast. Can you believe this is very? Houston is close to the coast on the Gulf there of the Texas coast. Going down to minus 9. The average would be plus 9. Absolutely extraordinary temperatures, and as I say, it's brought all sorts of disruption and mayhem to those southern states. But northern states have been extremely cold as well. Of course, it's much more typical and expected in the northern states, but down in most southern states, it really has been absolutely frozen up. So I'm sure you're waiting for things to get milder if you're watching from those southern states, and milder weather is on the way. Things are going to start getting milder. So these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for Tulsa in Oklahoma today. And the red line, of course, third year upper air temperature average for Tulsa. And you can see how extremely cold it is at the moment in Tulsa, and again, indicative of many very southern states. But you'll notice that the trend is very much upwards now. So by the time we get through to the weekend, we're going to see those upper air temperatures back close to average. And next week, the upper air temperatures should actually go a little bit milder than average for Tulsa. So the worst is very nearly over. It is going to take a little while, of course, because it's been so extremely cold. It will take a little while to lift the cold out of the ground and to start feeling properly milder on the surface. But by the weekend next week, things should be a lot milder, and then staying mild really as going to the end of February and into March, back close to or even slightly above average. And precipitation wise, of course, there's been huge amounts of snow as well to go with all of this cold weather. Absolutely historic in terms of the snowfall for large parts of America. It will be turning drier after that over the coming days for Tulsa and many of those southern states. Again, quite a bit of dry weather coming up next week. Into the opening days of March, then we've got much more in way of precipitation, and as it's turning milder, of course, some of that could be rather thundery. Of course, as we move into spring, we start moving into tornado season, where we get those huge thunderstorms creating huge amounts of instability, and they can trigger tornadoes through the Great Plains and in states like Oklahoma. So that will be a concern, of course, going forwards into the spring. But definitely this colder spell of weather will be on the way out very shortly. However, look at the temperature anomaly for the next week. This is a temperature anomaly for the United States from the 17th, 25th February. Absolutely freezing cold across many parts of the states, and again particularly focused on the southern states just here. So that, for example, that's the state of Texas all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We've got temperature anomalies. These are in Fahrenheit, I think. Temperature anomalies around sort of 12 to 20 Fahrenheit below average. You have to go to the extreme north of America into Canada really to find above average temperature anomalies for some southern parts of California, but generally from like the west coast all the way over to the east coast and all points in between, it's a significantly colder than average week coming up, even though the temperatures will be lifting up in the coming days, particularly in these more southern states. Precipitation anomalies show that it is a largely dry scene through many parts of America as well. So that's the thing, when you have it this extremely cold, often it will become quite dry. But we have seen some historic snowfalls over the past few days. But actually, the precipitation anomaly for the 17th, 25th February is going to be essentially drier than average in most areas. Right, so let's have a look then at the generic charts. This is how the GFS is looking for today. So, of course, we've got this very cold air in place across the country. A lot of high pressure is associated with that, but there is still ongoing risk of significant snow for some areas. These are our upper air temperatures. Again, they look extremely cold today across many parts of America, like from the north, from Canada, all the way down into the southern states. Not quite as cold in the far south of these southern states. So the southern states of Texas, for example, beginning to get a little bit less cold, but northern Texas still very, very cold, and generally just still a really cold scene from most northern, central and eastern parts of America. Again, the Great Plains and the Midwest looking absolutely frozen, and going up into the north east as well. Even in the west, it's pretty cold, really nowhere near as cold in the west of the northwest as it is further eastwards, but nevertheless, those upper air temperatures still pretty chilly in these western states. You really do have to go down to like Florida to find anything appreciably warmer than average, in southern California as well. Right then, so we go from into Thursday into Friday, and we're gradually going to find the jet stream beginning to lift northward. So the jet stream is the black line just here. So by Friday, still very cold through many of these northern and eastern states, but starting to turn less cold with this ridge of high pressure down across these more southern states where it has been frozen. Into the weekend, this ridge will gradually start to drift northwards and eastwards and begin to pull milder air up into the Great Plains in particular from the south. There's the upper air temperature showing that the Midwest and the Northeast and the East still very cold on Saturday, still extremely cold up there with further heavy snow to come probably in places. But through the southern states and going up through Great Plains, again, we probably do start to see those upper air temperatures beginning to lift up. Looking pretty chilly out in the northwest, but the coldest weather definitely for the east, the northeast and the Midwest. Now into Sunday, this ridge of high pressure will move over into the eastern part of America. Again, it will be bringing a lot of dry weather with it, so the risk of significant snow will be easing off, I think, as we go through into the weekend under this area of high pressure. And on the western side of the ridge, we will start to pull up this milder southerly wind, begin to moving towards some midwestern states as well, probably with those milder temperatures by the end of the weekend. Early next week, the wind turns into a west through most parts of northern America, so that will start to bring milder air in from the west and from the south too. There's the upper air temperatures by Monday looking considerably milder for all areas, so we see the coldest temperatures retreating away back into Canada. Most parts of America seeing those upper air temperatures lifting up quite substantially, particularly where it's been so frozen in these southern states. Again, looking much more comfortable, looking much more typical, really. We tried to pull off another pulse of cold air into the north and the northeast in the middle part of next week. So the cold air isn't done. And in fact, we will, for the northeast, find another surge of colder air coming in from the north for a time. That does not affect those Great Plain and southern states, however. There it stays generally milder. Another low pressure pushing through the Midwest in towards the east through the second half next week, will again bring colder air in from the north once more. There's the upper air temperature showing that colder air is surging back in from the north with bad air of low pressure, which will bring again more significant snow to those northern states. But you see, this is a much more typical pattern with the north, the Midwest, and possibly over into the east and the northeast looking cold, but these southern states looking a lot milder. And this is much more typical of what we would expect in America. Now, we move up to day 10, which is the 27th of February, and we find that brutal cold is beginning to gather across Canada and is trying to surge southwards. This area of low pressure will probably bring heavy rain. But as I remember, it looked like Tulsa was going to turn wetter into the opening days of March. So this low pressure, as we have like a meeting of warm air coming up from the Gulf and much colder air to the north with that low pressure, that will bring heavy showers and thunderstorms to these Great Plain and southern states, and might even produce some tornadic activity. Then we move on into the opening days of March. We have got a really brutal cold mass of air seen just to the north of America, just about making it into the far north of the states. Again, there's the upper air temperature, so threatening by early March to bring extreme cold back into America. It looks like at the moment, and this is extended range, of course, so it needs to be kept an eye on. At the moment, it looks like this will be mostly restricted to the extreme north, to like the north of the Midwest and back into Canada. But of course, it's a way off. It does need to be kept an eye, because that is another extreme cold mass of air that is sitting over Canada and just into the north of the state. So that gives a glancing blow to those northern states and into the northeast as we go into early March. Otherwise, rest of America not looking too bad with those upper air temperatures. Again, there they are for the 2nd of March, extremely cold in the far north and northeast. Not really flooding down into the bulk of America, though. Most parts of the states actually staying largely mild. And up to the end of this GFS run, so this gets to the 5th of March, we find high pressure veins sitting across many parts of northern, central and eastern America. Cold with that ridge in the north and the northeast. So again, from the Midwest over towards the northeast, it will remain, potentially really cold. But at the same time, the heat is beginning to gather for the first time, I think. We see heat gathering in the southwest. So, for example, Arizona seeing the plus 15 Celsius isotherm begin to push up from the south. This is, of course, the beginning of the hot season for the southwest. So by the beginning of March, we already see the heat beginning to build in this southwestern corner, but at the same time, the northeast still well and truly frozen. It's how the ECM is looking. The euro looks like that. So again, with the upper air temperature, we've seen most parts of America absolutely freezing cold again today and into tomorrow. Just beginning to lift that colder air out of these more southern states, but most parts, Great Plains, Midwest, and over to the east again, looking extremely cold. Into the weekend, again, moderation will occur, so we'll gradually start to see the jet stream lifting northwards and taking the coldest of the temperatures with it. So by Sunday, upper air temperatures are showing that the coldest air is in the northeast from the Midwest over towards the east coast. That's where we've got the coldest temperatures. Those southern states that have been so very, very cold over the past few days will be getting milder. A little bit on the chilly side, the western and the northwest, but nothing overly dramatic going on there. Into next week, so this area of low pressure to the north of Canada will try and bring another surge of cold air into northern states. We'll probably do so. It does look as though the Midwest in particular is getting a push of cold air from the north. So remains cold through the Midwest and into the northeast. Otherwise, the central, southern, western states will be relatively milder. There's the upper air temperatures the middle of next week showing cold air is digging back in towards the Midwest. Maybe not quite as much as the GFS does, but cold air digging back in from Canada into the Midwest. Otherwise, it's a relatively milder scene, though, through most parts of America next week, with significant moderation and a fall of snow in those more southern states. Heading up towards day 10, that's how we're looking. So again, the southern states relatively mild, a little bit warmer up the east side as well at the east coast. Some warmer air pushing up there. The Midwest out to Great Plains, a little bit colder through the northern areas anyway, but nothing overly dramatic. The worst is nearly over with this freeze up. Right, this is how CFSV2 is looking for the next 4 weeks. So these are 500 millibar heights break down into week periods. The first week period takes from 16th to the 2nd of February. The coming week, of course, has this deep trough through the central states. That's where the jet stream is digging southwards and bringing the cold air surging south through many parts of America. Bear in mind that in the coming days, we will see this trough and the jet stream beginning to lift north. So particularly the southern states will turn less cold to milder. Week 2 is much more typical. This is the 23rd of February to 1st of March. A ridge then through the southern states with the jet stream going northwards, taking the cold air northwards with it. So by the time we get through the last week of February, things will be a lot more comfortable. Week 3 is the 2nd to the 8th of March. A ridge then is over in the east with a trough in the west. That probably draws up quite mild air through those midwestern and eastern states, actually. And then week 4 looks like that. If we can get the highlighter going, there we go. It's the 9th to the 15th of February. Again, a trough in the west, a ridge in the east and the northeast. So colder perhaps for those northwestern states this time. Maybe a little bit milder though in the Midwest and in the east too. Temperature anomalies look like this. Very cold, pretty much from the west coast all the way to the east coast. So cold on average on the west coast, cold on average towards the east coast. But the core of the cold is through the central states where it is absolutely frozen with those deep blue colours going all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Look how those blue colours extend all the way down to the Gulf Coast and even, can you believe it, into northern parts of Mexico. Extraordinary. Totally flips around for week 2, which is the 2nd through to the 23rd, I should say, of February through to the 1st of March. And then it goes much more on average. Cold average temperatures restricted just to the northwest. Most other areas see most temperatures lifting up above average. I think that's overdone, though, for these northern, midwestern and eastern northeast states. This area just here. I think for the southern states, that's fine. It will go milder through those southern states, definitely, by next week. So things go back to normal down here. But I think this is overdone for the north and the Midwest and the northeast. So these states up here, I think, will be a lot colder than that. I expect the states to be a lot colder just there. But this area will warm up. Where it has been extraordinarily cold. We go through to week 3, east-west split. So western, northwestern states cold, eastern, northeastern states mild. Again, I'm a little bit unsure about that. And week 4, which is the 9th to the 15th of March, again, cold average in the west and in the northwest, substantially mild average through these eastern, northeastern and midwestern states. Again, a little bit unsure about that, but of course that's 4 weeks away, so it is very unreliable. Precipitation anomalies look like this. It's the 16th, 22nd of February, so above average of these eastern, northeast states, but risk of significant snow will continue, but gradually, of course, as we begin to lift the cold air northwards, then the risk of snow will begin to ease up, particularly particularly in these sort of east and southeastern states. Wet average in the northwest, driving average in between. Week 2 looks like that, so it's significantly driving average through these southern states again. Many of these southern states go dry. In the north, still looking a little bit wet, and there is risk of more snow, I think, through Midwest and into the northeast. Week 3 is the 2nd to the 8th of March. Wetter in the east, a little bit drier in the northwest. Beginning to lose the signal now as we're going further out, of course. And then week 4 is the 9th to the 15th of March, where the southern states look rather dry on average. Still a bit on the wet average side, both from the Midwest and up to the northeast. The model says it'll be mild then, but if it's cold, of course, that could produce more snow at times. So it really has been extremely cold few days, and this freeze up is going to go on for a few more days still, especially for like the Great Plains, the Midwest, and into the east and the northeast. It will remain very cold. There'll be a risk of further very significant and substantial snow at times as well for the next couple of days. As going to the weekend, I think we'll see things turning drier, so the risk of substantial snow will ease in the north and in the northeast. But it will remain very cold through weekend there. Further south, where we've had it so extraordinarily cold, we will find mild air beginning to return pretty much from today onwards, but it'll probably be later on in the week that you start to feel that down on the surface. But by the weekend and into next week, I think those southern states will be out of the freezer and will be a lot milder. Watch out for potential for another extreme cold plunge into northern and northeastern parts of America by early March. Whether that progresses down into the bulk of the states remains to be seen, but it does look as though very cold air is threatening from Canada again by the beginning of March. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, of course. Right, that's it for this week's USA broadcast. If you've enjoyed it, please smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. These are YouTube exclusives, so you will need to subscribe to watch these videos. Click the bell notification icon as well. Every Wednesday we'll release these, so you'll be notified by YouTube when we release these videos. If you subscribe and click the bell notification icon, we're going to be back from 6 o'clock with our Wednesday live stream, so I shall see you then for the 10 to 14 day live stream for the UK and for Northern Europe as well. But for USA forecast this week, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.